Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monday Movie Club this month. I have a little bit new technology. For those who may notice, my camera quality is a little bit different than it was. Welcome back to Monday Movie Club as we're going to chat about Wreck-It Ralph 2. It's good to see a couple people coming into the chat now. Welcome to join our conversation moving forward tonight. And we just hope that you're doing very well. I know that. For instance, tonight we have had a bit of weather here in the GTA in regards to rain. I had some hail yesterday in my own near my own home, so I hope you're all doing well. You're in a warm, safe place tonight, and really hope to enjoy our little chat about Wreck-It Ralph 2 tonight. So as we start off our chat tonight, just a reminder for those who may be new here, welcome to Monday Movie Club. This is a opportunity for us to talk openly about the movies that we watch. So a spoiler alert is in effect. So if you haven't seen the movie and you would like to, we try not to do our best spoiling what happens, but feel free to pause the video and go watch it and come back and watch this at a future time, or take place in the conversation tonight. I know there's a couple of people who may be doing that in chat tonight, and then watch it with this kind of lens of our conversation. It might be really interesting for you to see that. And then our guidelines that I have here on screen for us that we share about Monday Movie Club, sharing our hashtag, sharing the challenge with our friends, our family, our loved ones, those who might enjoy the movie to participate in Movie Club. So not only participating in live streams that we host every other Monday, but also with the announcement of each movie, we have home discussion questions. So have time to talk about what you watch with those who you watch with, or your friends, or other fans of the film. And then continue to be kind and loving to one another. This is a easy one for our group to be following. You guys have been such a wonderful and loving community, so thank you for being that way for that. So I'm just going to start off our conversation tonight. I had a bit of a teaser in chat about what your favorite kind of pop culture reference was, or your favorite part of the movie. And what I really liked for Wreck-It Ralph is this kind of nostalgic view of video game culture and video games throughout ages, primarily back in like the 80s and 90s. And so what I really liked about this movie was seeing Sonic the Hedgehog pop up in conversation and being part of the action. That was actually one of the first video games that I played as a kid. They had a arcade machine at one of my dental offices, and you could play Sega Genesis Sonic. I still have as I say that, I'm singing the theme in my head. So it was quite nice for me to be seeing uh, that kind of nostalgia come back for me, as well as kind of new games and new aspects with the plugging in of Wi-Fi, as they first called it, but Wi-Fi and access to the internet. So let us know either in chat or in the comments below what was your favorite either part or kind of nostalgic piece that brought for you into the puzzle. And our first question for tonight is, which area of the internet city would your avatar spend the most time in? So we see in the movie that at one point they go into the modem where Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi is, and Vanellope and Ralph get kind of sucked in and go into this place that looks. I really liked how they interpreted the internet as like a downtown metropolis city. And so I really enjoyed, and then all the people having like big headed avatars, like those who may play like Nintendo Wii U or some of these other kind of platforms, in regards to having these kind of virtual versions of ourselves walking around the city, going to different shops and stores and things like that that represented all the different companies or major things. So there was one for like a YouTube where we're here now. There was a one for Pinterest. Um, and things along those lines. So what area of the internet city would your avatar spend the most time in? And I'll just give a few minutes for those who might be watching at home but not in chat to be able to talk about that tonight. So for myself, as those who may be talking about this at home or figuring out answers for when they write in chat, uh, for myself, I think I would spend the most time at the YouTube building. A lot of, as many of you know, Doxa is doing a lot of things virtually through this platform. Um, and I myself really enjoy a lot of different web series and creators that are here on this platform. So I think my avatar would be most here on YouTube, not a plug at all. Uh, the second place probably would be Google because that's where we get it's the most popular search engine. It's the most popular place to be in regards to finding answers. So I would be kind of at that kiosk, that information kiosk that they have, which isn't Google. They call it something else. And he's doing like the autofill, like like Google does. I love that. Um, when people are asking questions, I think I would be either one of those two places. Tammy, I'd say Pinterest because I spend hours on it. Yeah, Pinterest is another one that would kind of be top for me. I get like seasons of Pinterest, especially when I'm in a creative mood to get ideas and look at kind of the inspiring things on it. Um, or if there's something that I really like and I want to look at like other people's creations of like fan art or um, I do a lot of things like when I'm thinking about crafting or like painting or even like baking and stuff. I like just looking at the different ideas of like cakes. So I type in like themed cakes and then look at all of them and then go, oh man, um, that's stuff that I could never do, but I really appreciate their kind of creativity about it. Um, Alice, Amazon shopping. Yeah, I think I liked how they referenced eBay, but I think Amazon would be another really, really big hub of the giant city, especially now with all of us in COVID and kind of relying on these third party companies like Amazon and eBay and other kind of shipper seller type things, as well as trying to support um, our local uh, brick and mortars as much as we can. YouTube, Google, and Instagram. Yeah, Instagram would probably be a popular one too. Facebook, maybe? I'm not quite sure. Uh, but yeah, for sure. Those are great answers. Thanks, everybody. And I hope you're having interesting conversations about where you spend your time on the internet when you are here in cyberspace. Uh, Second question of the night. Who do you tend to be more like, Vanellope or Ralph? I was really kind of this question kind of stems from the fact of like we see right at the beginning like they have their routine about what happens every day when the arcade closes or when the arcade's open. And Ralph really likes the predictable routine and the structure of that and just the sameness. But we see from Vanellope this kind of inner desire to have something new or different, exciting kind of in her life. And so I found it interesting that these two friends that are really close to each other still have these very two different kind of opinions of their situation and what's going on. So who do you tend to be more like? Do you tend to be more like a Vanellope looking for the new and different? Or do you tend to be the Ralph that really appreciates the same and predictability? For myself, I tend to be more like Ralph. I tend to be a person that really strives with structure and predictability, not necessarily sameness, like same routine all the time, but having a routine helps my mind kind of stay grounded and things like that. I know that's not for everybody, but my personality tends to be that way. We have a bit of a mix here in chat. Vanellope, Tammy says I would be more like Ralph because as an ECE, I I have to follow routines and schedules. Absolutely. Some of these tendencies that we have naturally work within our own rhythms, and others are just the way they are because of the work we do. So I think because of the work I do, um, I'm less rigid. I look for new, I look for different, but I think my preference would probably be a little bit more routine in my life, which is why I like things like Movie Club, which has kind of a community that you can come back to, but it's consistent and always there for you. Um, but it's neat to see this kind of dynamic in a friendship base. That's what I really liked seeing, was this aspect. Thanks for sharing, everybody. So what damage? Oh, I think I skipped one. Did I? Nope. As I'm going over my notes. Technical difficulties. Um, what damage can our insecurities cause? So this is where the spoilers tend to happen. So we see later in the film the release of the virus that looks for an insecurity. And it finds an insecurity in Ralph because he senses Vanellope's draw to the new and different. And he is so wanting to hold on to what he has with his friend that it's seen as an insecurity, this kind of clinginess, this desire to not have her change, not have her go far, not have her do what she would like. And a lot of damage is done. A lot of damage is done to the city. A lot of damage is done to their friendship temporarily. Damage is done to a lot of different aspects in regards to Ralph breaking the internet. Um, but in regards to ourselves, what damage could our own insecurities cause in our lives was kind of my question. And what I really reflected on at the end of this movie um, was that. So I'm seeing a couple answers come in. It can ruin relationships. Absolutely. We see a bit of that with Vanellope and Ralph in this movie, right? We see a bit of that struggle where there's a bit of like resentment, and especially when they don't talk about it, especially when they don't talk about what's happening. Um, but yeah, it can definitely ruin relationships. I even think about insecurities of for myself causing damage to my own self, right? I think of it like because I'm not confident or secure in this one area in my life, um, it kind of then teaches a lie or teaches like a mental mentality, a perspective, a worldview, a way that I look at the world that might not be accurate, that might not be truthful because it's centered in this insecurity that's not true, versus actually looking at the world through a lens of pure observation or just centered in truth rather than what I'm dealing with myself. So I can really see how it can even damage our own beings. Um, it can set you back from reaching your full potential. Absolutely. Um, I think of the comment earlier that Tammy, even you said about wanting to be more of a person who likes new and different things, but maybe like scared or hesitant, reluctant, not really knowing how or even if you want to do those things. Um, and so I think, yeah, having that kind of any sort of insecurity could definitely hold you back from reaching what God has for us, our full potential, a life. God calls it life abundant. I think of it as life to the fullest, a whole life that is full of what God wants from us. But if we hold on to these areas of whatever that insecurity may be, some might be self doubt, um, some might be fear of abandonment, fear of failure, fear of just missing out on other things, um, fear of rejection, fear of being lonely, uh, a fear of being judged, the thought or the lie that I think a lot of people face, which is I'm not good enough, or I can't be loved, or I can't, these are lies in which sin and the enemy tell us that aren't true, and they, for sure, I agree with you, Alice, they hold us back from reaching our full potential in relationships with ourselves. Um, and so, yeah, I think that can cause a lot of damage. It's interesting to see how Ralph's insecurities caused damage to the world around him. Because the virus duplicated and then like buildings were crumbling and the internet was actually breaking apart. And it made me think, could our own insecurities cause that kind of outward damage? And I really can't think of an example of how that would happen. But maybe in your own discussions you see that, and if you do, like, let us know your insights in the comments or in chat today, um, because I'm really interested to kind of dig into that idea too, at all. But thank you so much for you guys sharing in chat and hearing my thoughts about it. Um, but yeah, our insecurities can do a lot of damage, like Ralph's did. And so, before I move on to this next question, a really interesting idea came to my mind when watching this film, which was, as youth workers and ECEs and child and youth care workers, people in this kind of profession, or maybe even your young people at home, have heard the idea of identity and self image and self esteem and these kind of contexts. And when I was a teenager, there was who I was and how much value I put on myself, my self worth, and how I view myself, my self image, and how I care for myself, which is my self esteem. And those were kind of the areas of identity that we talked about. Um, but now, especially in light of all the access to the internet and to things like this, which is a great tool for like YouTube to have conversations like this, there's this idea now of like cyber self or a digital identity that kind of existed when I was a teenager, but very minimally. Um, Nowadays, we have things like people catfishing, people pretending to be people who they aren't on the internet, or people being influencers, people who have so much charisma or charm or following that they can influence the opinion of others. We have this kind of importance on how this world, as I point at my webcam, this world of kind of digital space impacts ourselves. And it's an interesting concept. I still remember when I think I was 12 or 13, and my mom was doing online learning, and she was at home on her computer in a class, and it was in the days just before like video web calls were really a thing. Like Zoom and Skype and them were, I don't think Zoom was around. Even Skype was very minimalistic. I think it was barely video at the time. And so they were in a chat room similar to our live chat here on screen. And I came in and I was just, how's class going? And she's like, come sit with me. And I sat on her lap, and she would tell me what to type in the chat room and then check it and then send it. And so I was typing for her answers to questions in her chat classroom for like 20 minutes, half an hour. And at the end of it, I remember my mom turning to me and being like, how many of my classmates who are adults know that they were just chatting with a 12-year-old right now? And it really opened my eyes to the idea of we can pretend to be something that we are not on the internet, and no one would know. No one would know, um, unless you're really savvy about it. And it really kind of shocked me when I was 12, but now people are so exposed to this kind of world that it's completely different. And so I wanted to ask this question: what identity is more important to you? Is it the person that's seen every day by a small circle? So when I consider that, I say friends, families, teachers, your community, your fellow classmates, the people who actually see you in person, flesh, every day. Is that the identity that's more important to you? Or is it the person who exists online? Is it the avatars walking around? Is it the selfies? And we see a bit of this with Ralph when he's at BuzzTube, which I loved that they made this fake this fictional video streaming world where you give hearts instead of likes, instead of, followers that we know. But he was obsessed. I need more hearts. I need more hearts. And he wanted them for a good cause at the beginning. He wanted more hearts so he could, help Vanellope out. But he's getting that attention, he's getting that love from the person who exists for the digital space, kind of the global space, a broader community, but they're only seeing what he presents. They're not actually meeting Ralph, you know? And so my question to us as we watch this is that who's more important in our lives? Is it the person that sits here in this chair right now, or that my friends and my family and my neighbors and my community and my coworkers and you get to see? Or is it a person that I get to create with the best selfie to get the most likes, with the best quality webcam? I find it so ironic that I'm using this webcam during this talk. Um, this idea of technology being used, is that identity more important that's seen by more people, or is it the person that's seen every day? Is kind of my question. And it's a big question. And I think we all have to ask ourselves this. Um, because I really think that it's an important thing for us to wrestle with even daily. Who's more important for me today? I'm going to read some of the comments that are coming in here. I think the person that is seen every day is more important because I like seeing the real side of people. Thanks, Tammy. There's a vulnerability to letting yourself be seen. And that can be really scary, or it can be really exciting. Where if we put on a fake persona, if people don't like that, we're less attached because it's fake. But there is a joy and a beauty of seeing real people and people who are themselves. Alice, I like this comment. Also, at your lowest time, those internet people won't be there for you. I think of that so well that, there are people that I love on my social media platforms. I get to see the pictures I post and the things I post. But just because of distance or where we are, not all of my friends on Facebook are going to reach out to me when I'm having a hard time. And that's okay. Relationships are different for different people. And friendships are different for different people. But I like that I have a more intimate, not necessarily just smaller in number, but just people who I know that when I'm having a rough time care for me, but also that if they're having a rough time, I really love and I want to care for them. And I love that you're saying that also, Alice, about the people on the internet won't be there for you. Because I even think of the example of Jesus, who, he had his disciples who saw him every day. They ate together, they slept in the same places, they walked together, they traveled, they were there for the preaching. And then there was the crowd of hundreds of thousands of people that would hear Jesus was coming and crowd him. But at the end of the day, they went back to their homes. And not all of them became disciples. Some of them were just there for the talk and then just went back home and was like, wow, that was a great talk. I think of how many people followed Jesus and think of I always thought maybe all of them were disciples like the 12 were. But in the reality, there must have been people that met Jesus or heard Jesus that were fans, that were followers, that would have liked his YouTube or would have liked his Instagram or would have liked, all these things and followed him, pushed the notification bell, subscribed to his channel, but no real change would happen. And I view that in regards of our world, right? So there's people that we have immediate, that we eat, we talk, we maybe not sleep in the same house all the time. I'm thinking friends of mine, we're not roommates. But we see each other on a regular basis. We live life with one another. And then there's the extended crowd that may know of you or hear from you, but they're less invested. They're not going to be the people that you turn to in times of trouble. And so I wanted to encourage you that the identity of who we are should be authentic no matter where we are. So for me, when social media started to become a real thing, I had a say in when my kind of digital identity, my little avatar, was created. Um, my parents gave me that when I was old enough. I was late high school, I think grade 11, grade 12, before I made a social media account. And I got to control what could be on it. Of course, my parents viewing it and friends with me and had administer access and things along those lines, but I could kind of create my own digital identity. And I know even some of junior hires out there, you have social media accounts, or high school students, you have social media accounts. You're doing that at a much younger age than I did. And that's okay. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But I think who we are every day needs to also be the same as who we present to the world. Because God calls us to be a light on the hillside for the world to see. And if we're one way in front of our friends and a different person in cyberspace, then we're not being authentic. We don't have integrity in our identity. And so this verse came to mind. The whole chapter, the beginning chapter here in Matthew 6, is a great chapter, and I think it talks about the authenticity or the truthfulness in how we serve Jesus. And please go read the whole chapter, but I wanted to highlight these particular verses 1 and then 19 to 21. Let me read it for you. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. And this section of scripture in between where the triple dots are talks about different areas of even our worship life with Jesus that we shouldn't present really well just to be seen by other people. So he talks about don't pray loudly and openly for everyone to hear so that you can be heard and seen. Pray in your private time, in your prayer closets. Like, make that time with God and make that the treasure. Make that important, the actual time talking to God, rather than the being seen talking to God. He talks about fasting. Don't fast and then labor and say, oh, I'm fasting, and so other people can praise you for how well you're doing. But if you're doing that as a spiritual practice of taking time, instead of eating right now, I'm going to pray or read my Bible or just spend some time in worship. Do that with God. Don't do it so people can see you. And there's this idea of let our time with God be cherished as time with God. Not just because we can be seen. So even I think of Movie Club here and it being a public platform. I don't do this to be internet famous. I do this for the conversations that I get to have with you guys on a bi-weekly basis. And this is the best way for us to chat right now, and have this conversation. And so for me, it's not about the rewards of going viral or having 1 million views or having 1 million subscribers. For me, it's about this time of conversation, of being able to practice my righteousness, which is looking at our world through this lens of scripture, through our Christian lens, and having a safe place where we can talk about it. That's my treasure for me, is creating a safe place for us to really dive into what the Bible says about these things that movies talk about. And I think in regards to our digital identities and our real identities, we can take this idea to heart that God treasures who we truly are. He does not treasure who we present ourselves to be, what our avatar may look like. He wants the true heart of who you are, the true person of who you are, not the best selfie with the best filter. And so that's kind of where I wanted to encourage you all tonight. If you feel pressured to, I know even for myself, like post, oh, is this picture good enough? Do I need to edit it? All this other stuff. Those things don't matter as much as the world says they do. Our self-worth, our value comes from God. It doesn't come from people that we may meet, we may know, as I know many of you, but not necessarily those that we don't know. And who I am comes from God. It doesn't come from what people view me. And that's a tough position to be in, but I guarantee that that's the position God calls us to, is to be our true selves at every moment, at every day. And it's a hard thing to do, but I encourage you to do it. And so thanks for hearing these thoughts. For those who are watching, for those who shared in chat, thank you for participating tonight and being involved and just hearing my 2 cents about all of this. It's hard to have this conversation when we're doing it on a digital platform. And I don't think the internet is a bad place. I think it is a tool in which many people use for many different reasons. And so digital trolls exist. Unfortunately, cyberbullying exists. Catfishing exists. Fraud, identity frauds, and scams, and all these other things exist on the internet. But I think the internet could also be used for good. Can also start conversations, can spark interest, can connect loved ones together, and connect communities like our community here at Monday Movie Club together. So that's kind of been my 2 cents about that. I got a few announcements, and then I'll let you guys go. I know it's running a bit later than we usually do tonight, so I appreciate all of you guys sticking by. First announcement is thank you all for coming to our Doxa gathering this past month, at the beginning of the month. Our next one, and actually our last one for 2020, is on December 4th on the Doxa Toronto page, our YouTube channel. So just search Doxa Toronto and look for our blue Doxa logo, our blue Doxa logo there, to find all the details. Subscribe to that channel, and then when the live link goes up, you'll be able to see it from there. And that starts at 7:30. We ask, feel free to come early. We do games and chat, and it's a lot of fun and all this other stuff. So it's going to be a great time. So please feel free to join us for that. As always, just if you are looking for a little encouragement this time of year, I know with the weather getting a bit darker early and things along those lines, it might be good to have a bit of a pick-me-up. And so if you are someone between the ages of 12 and 25 and you're looking for loving, encouraging, and just really hopeful messages throughout kind of your weeks, feel free to sign up for Bless Up and be encouraged throughout your time there. Final 2 announcements. We're still trying to decide. Thank you for all of you who have suggested movies. There's been a great number of movies that have been suggested. I'm still looking at the list. But please let me know what Christmas movie you would like Monday Movie Club to maybe talk about. Maybe it's a favorite of yours. Maybe it's one you haven't seen but you're really interested in. And please comment below this video or in the live stream tonight before November 25th. That's when we'll be taking all the ones, because we want to be able to, at our next live stream in 2 weeks, announce what our Christmas movie is. So you have until next Friday to make your suggestions for that. And speaking about next stream, similar to when I had my friend Steve on, I'm going to be having a co-host. So it won't just be me next in 2 weeks. It'll be myself and my friend Alan. Alan is many of you who have gone to Doxa gatherings before or have seen our Doxa channel have seen Alan. He is the youth pastor at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Scarborough, and he is a member of our team at Doxa as part of Youth Unlimited Toronto Youth for Christ. I know him very well. He's part of a bit of my veto uh, discernment team when it comes to these movies as well. And he's a close friend of movie club and is part of our thing. So he's agreed to come on and have a chat with me in regards to our next movie coming up. So we're really excited. Please come on and show Alan some love and just being able to and come on and just be able to say hi and hear his thoughts and my thoughts as we talk about our next movie. So without further ado, the next movie, which is going to be, um, I can't believe someone guessed it in chat. I'm just looking here now. Yes, Tammy, it's Kung Fu Panda. And I don't know if, because I know you know Alan, I don't know if that got spoiled or if I showed it by accident or what happened. Um, but yeah, it's going to be Kung Fu Panda. He was telling me that St. Andrew's youth group, specifically the day camp, had a bit of a funny joke about this, an inside joke. But he told me that after we picked the uh, after we picked the movie. So yes, so we're going to be watching Kung Fu Panda. It is available. Let me take a look. It is available for streaming on Netflix, and it's available to rent on Apple, YouTube, as well as Cineplex. Feel free to check out Cineplex. They're a really great resource for rentals. I believe Amazon has it available for rental. And again, it's a very popular film, so check your library listings in regards to what might be available electronically through your library resources. Few warnings. Kung Fu Panda is based in more animated, kid-friendly, but it is a martial arts film. So there is cartoon violence and aggression. Um, there's some cruder humor and insults, but nothing more than what we've already experienced here on Monday Movie Club. But just be aware of that. So if this, for some reason, does not spark enthusiasm, is not something within your own family rules or something that you're not comfortable with, there's no pressure to participate. But please feel free to come on to chat and have a discussion with us anyways and see what our thoughts about it have been. And we'd be happy to have that kind of conversation with you uh, as you consider maybe watching the film once having our chat. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming on tonight and watching this video. We really hope you have a wonderful week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay connected. Have a good night, everybody.